Flo in the Mo.
Now, some of the top trending content coming out about Canada is all about the reasons why people are leaving or are going to be leaving very soon. The videos and articles all list the similar contributing factors. The cost of living and how it's rising every single year. Our healthcare system is woefully understaffed and overworked. The housing affordability issue, the rental market, as well as the rising of crime, homelessness, and drug addiction.
No! God, please, no! No!
All these factors are definitely valid reasons why to leave Canada. However, none of them address the reason and the cause behind why all of this is happening. All these symptoms are the byproduct of one major illness, and that is our government. And not just the government, but the degree of which it has grown and intertwined into every facet of everyday Canadians. This has been a direct result of Canada, which was founded by Christians on Christian principles, losing its faith, in junction with the breakdown of the family structure, which we've seen single families exponentially increase. And with this removal of the foundation which this nation was built on, there has been the Indiana Jones switch where the government has jumped in and made themselves the new paternal role in our family lives. And we are deeply and dearly paying the price for it right now. If we break down all these reasons as to why Canadians are wanting to leave, we will find that the prices of goods and services, as well as the purchasing power of our dollar, head in opposite trajectories. And these trajectories have ballooned under our government's most recent response to this pandemic we just had. The government has printed more than $350 billion since February 2020. And now we have more money than that of goods and services that have been produced, which has led to our current inflation crisis. And inflation is essentially another tax, as we are living a lifestyle that our previous generations did not live, i.e., cell phones, internet, daily coffees, a lot more travel, eating out. All these things we pay as Canadians a lot more than most of the people around the world. And why is this the case? Government intervention. It's no news to any Canadians that we pay some of the highest rates for cell phone and internet plans around. And why is this? The CRTC, government regulation, does not allow for competition. And we have recently seen the telecommunications oligopoly shrink down to 3 with the acquisition of Shaw by Rogers. Another example is insurance. And here in BC, we have ICBC. And any new driver or driver that wants to go on the road has to go through this monopoly insurance. There's no competition to compete with prices, choose plans, and so we all see high rates and poor service. Travel and flights, another regulated industry. There are only 2 Canadian companies and we have to choose A or B. It's more expensive for most Canadians to fly from one side of the country to the other than it is in other parts of the world to fly around halfway around the world. No competition, poor service, high fees. Our gas and energy sector. Canadians should be living high on the hog with the amount of oil reserves that we have, as well as the abundance of trees that our forest industry should be booming. However, government regulation has completely decimated these 2 services. Our government has convinced its citizens that our resources are bad, but getting those same resources from another country at premium prices that practice no environmental or safety concerns is okay. The rental market. Vancouver, San Francisco, and New York all share something in common: very strict rent control measures. And they are also the top 3 most expensive places to live in North America.
Coincidence? I think not!
Rent control is just essentially price control. And this disincentivizes builders and developers from wanting to build rental units. Our government is almost entirely given all the rights to the tenants these days. And since it's so hard to remove poor tenants, this has opened up avenues like short-term rentals like Airbnbs, something else that now the government has cracked down on. It also incentivizes to have a home and not rent it out to anyone, which again the government has jumped in and has added a vacancy tax. So for every government regulation, people find ways around that, where then the government jumps in to regulate that again. And we have this vicious cycle of no one getting anywhere and conditions just getting worse. And that's why we're seeing a lot of buildings that are having no maintenance and no upkeep because they can't afford to keep up with it. The government has pitted this tenants versus homeowner narrative that's been going on, when the frustration is actually directed at the wrong people. With low supply and high demand, prices stay high, and so do the taxes. Things like municipalities' zoning laws to allow for density and its permitting process, which can drag out fees and time up to a year and hundreds of thousands of dollars before you even get a shovel in the ground. And then we have our government in BC, a premier who none of us elected, stepping in to say that they're the ones that are going to save the day from their own rules and regulations. And lastly, we have the factor of immigration, which our federal government wants to bring in 500,000 new people every single year. When economics can be simplified by the formula of supply and demand, things are only going to get worse. Their justification for this is that Canadians' birth rate is at a record low at 1.4 children per woman, which needs to be at over 2 to regulate immigration. Our government's propaganda has told its citizens that children are bad for the environment and careers are more important. If we look elsewhere in other nations, such as Hungary and Russia, they have policies that promote the growth of its own families via tax benefits and other types of funding. So again, all these reasons are big enough and valid enough to leave this country. However, the main contributing factor is the government, and the government has grown too big. Most people that I talk to that understand this factor are actually not from here. Places like Latin America and Eastern Europe, places that are either currently dealing with corrupt governments or have experienced this very recently in their lifetime. So it's no surprise that they're aware to what's going on. Canadians should be looking for a government that wants to get smaller so the individual gets bigger. They should be looking for something that promotes family growth as opposed to a government that wants to step in and take control and take care of you.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
And hopefully Canadians can see this sooner than later. And that's it for now. Peace.
The flow and the mo.